See, I hope I look cultured enough today because I got like my Southeast Asian map in the background, even though I don't know anything about geography. Selección Nacional t-shirt, even though I do not watch soccer. So this is the second time that I'm recording this video because the first time I recorded I was totally chaotic and I think a little bit just too excited, but I am very excited. Do you know why? It's because I'm back on YouTube, duh! Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Elysse de Vega. I have felt the emptiness in my chest for about a month now because I haven't even thought about posting. I had life changes. I was going back to school, getting used to a new routine, semi-traumatic life events, but that's all on the side now. Today I have a very exciting video for you because it's about something that I feel very deeply about. It's something that I'm very passionate about, and that is Mexican Spanish. But here I am today to talk about why choosing a dialect for your language is very, very cool, important, helps you a lot, all of those things. I have nothing bad to say about it, but I don't want to get ahead of myself, so I'm just going to say a little disclaimer up front. This video is highly contextualized around Spanish because it's like, I guess, the case study that I'm basing all of this knowledge and advice off of. Knowledge. Bold to assume that I know anything, I know. So if you speak Spanish, if you want to learn Spanish, this is great for you, but also there's going to be a lot of stuff in here that also benefits you, even if you are learning a different language, or even if you don't care at all and you're just here to watch me and my pretty earrings. I should plug in my laptop. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the context of my Spanish and kind of its whole life journey, talking about 3 really strong benefits, and of course I'm going to talk about how I actually did it. So the steps that I took to actually choose a specific dialect and incorporate it into my Spanish, which is already at a very mature level. God, I hate that it looks like I have no hair. I swear. No, literally since the last time I posted a video, I couldn't put it in a ponytail, but now, come on. I'm not even kidding with y'all. Okay, so let's talk about the context of my Spanish. If you go to my first painting with a polyglot video that I made 1 year ago, you'll see that my Spanish sounds a little bit confusing. People left me very, very kind comments saying that your Spanish sounds so good, but I also got a lot of comments saying stuff about my accent, and people were very confused about how I spoke, or at least I think confused, because everybody had something different to say. So over the years, I've spoken Spanish for about 10 years, more or less, but I really got serious about it in the last 5. And over this time, people have told me that I sound like a mix between a Spanish person and a Mexican person. They've told me that I sound Argentinian, which you're lying. You're lying. People have told me that I sound Caribbean or Venezuelan or something like that. And it's equally confusing for me, you know? I just want to fit into one little place so bad. But yeah, I think just by default, I always wanted to study European Spanish because it's just the default, I guess. When you learn French, most people want to learn Metropolitan French. When you learn English, you either choose pretty much UK or American. Nobody's I'm going to learn Australian English. But, the problem is I was just so far removed, of course geographically, but also just culturally. I had no, I guess, ties to the culture or anything, whereas being Floridian, I live in Florida and I have for 10 years, I'm constantly exposed to Latino Spanish, different dialects Venezuelan, Puerto Rican Spanish, Dominican Spanish, Cuban Spanish. Oh my god, there's so many Cubans in Florida. So I realized after a while, I was I need to let European Spanish go. It's nothing against Spanish people. You guys have a very beautiful dialect, and I've traveled to your country more than I have any other Spanish-speaking country, but I just didn't really identify with it anymore, so I was okay, that's fine. Fast forward to last year in May, and I went to Mexico for the first time, and I was oh my god. I fell in love with everything, and when I was there, I felt like myself, and that's when it truly just struck me, I want to be me as much as I can in this language. So it occurred to me, it's not I planned to dialectify my Spanish. It's kind of just I realized in the same moment that I wanted a specific dialect and that dialect should be Mexican Spanish. So it was just very natural. It came to me very, very naturally, and for that I'm very grateful. It found me, baby. Okay. But literally since then, since May of last year, I've made it a constant point and a constant effort to just put a little bit more on Mexican Spanish. And there are some people who will say that, it's really not good to kind of center yourself on one dialect because you need to be able to communicate with people of all different countries and you need to be versatile. And with that, yes, I do agree. But I think that's more appropriate and suited for like beginner or intermediate learners. And my Spanish is very, very mature, not to flex, but I feel like for me, a little bit of tunnel vision like was not going to hurt the fundamentals of my Spanish. To the contrary, you know, I feel like it has given me so much more confidence because it's given me so much more of an identity. Here's a recurring theme for you, identity. So yeah, that's basically the context of my Spanish, and now it's time to talk about how I actually put that into practice, because it's very easy to just sit up one day and be like, oh, I'm gonna learn, I don't know, Congolese French instead of metropolitan French, but how are you going to actually put that into practice? So luckily, Mexico is like not a small country. You know, there's a lot of people that want to learn Mexican Spanish, so there's a lot of different ways to incorporate it. One of the biggest things I can say is social media. You know, not to be a head-ass millennial or something, but there's just so many different ways. Like on Instagram, for example, I started to follow literal like just Mexican Spanish accounts, because there's some people that are so proud of their dialect and they want to teach people their dialect. So for example, like Prof Mexican, I really like that one because I like to overlay it with French. Dosis de Español, Spanish lang lovers. Like there's a lot of different accounts that you can find that just focus on one dialect. You just have to ask around and look for them. Got on Twitter. Twitter is that's how I keep my Spanish Mexican, but also young. You know, because I follow a lot of people that are the same age as me. And it's just very beneficial to know how people actually talk in day-to-day, because social media is very much like, you know, a casual, informal platform, or I guess where people just feel very comfortable, so they talk how they talk with their friends. And of course, you know, talking about social media, I have such a big platform. I have thousands of people that see my stuff, and so when I show people what I'm doing and say like, oh, I'm watching or I'm listening to this Mexican song, or I'm watching this Mexican movie, people are like, oh, I love that. Did you know about this one? Or like, you know, it's cyclical. It's cyclical because when people see you learning their dialect, they feel flattered. Like they want to help you and they want to give you recommendations. They want to, you know, have video calls with you. They just want to, like, I don't know, egg you on, and that's super cool. So definitely I would say get involved with social media. Just start a little studygram. You don't even have to show your face if you don't want to. I'm just saying because it like has exponentially helped with like putting a dialect into my Spanish. And of course also it's a given that I use italki, because on italki you can choose like what country your tutor is from. So in the past year I've only had Mexican tutors, and so that helps me to constantly just use the stuff that I'm learning from social media, from music, from, you know, a lot of other sources. And lastly, for like how I put it into practice was just cinema. I got so like entrenched and just like really interested in Mexican movies in the last year. I think I've seen more Mexican movies in the last year than I have American movies, and that's saying something because I really like to watch movies. There's just so much to discover, and I feel like, you know, because I love movies in general, just doing that but in Mexican Spanish is just like so enriching. It's very enriching. And now it's time to convince you, because I gotta give you some proof of the pudding. Gotta talk about it a little bit more. So the first thing that everybody always talks about when we're talking about choosing a specific dialect is slang and filler words and just how to use them in context. And of course that's really important. So like an example of something that I didn't used to say but now I say all the time is me hice bolas, which literally means I made myself balls, but in Mexican Spanish it's a way to say I got confused. So now instead of not saying me confundí all the time, I just say like me hice bolas, and it's just like a more informal, comfortable way to talk to younger people. I don't know if older people say that, but I don't know. You know, it just makes me feel a little bit more like identified, I guess. Slang is very cool, and when people hear you say slang, they're also like, this girl knows what she's talking about. And then filler words. So filler words are not necessarily dialectified. I don't know. Honestly, I don't have that much experience talking about filler words in different dialects, but I know that in every Spanish dialect you're going to hear things like o sea or pues or just by constantly like talking to Mexican people, and like it's been very contact heavy, so I've heard a lot more filler words than I would have if I didn't put so much effort into learning specific dialects. So you gotta stay with me here. I'm kind of like, but I swear we're on our way. Am I making sense? So of course slang and filler words and how they're used in context, that's really important, but we gotta go a little bit deeper. Something that can be very beautiful and also very important is the etymology and the history of the language. So let's talk about history first. God, this freaking piece of hair is gonna drive me insane. Let's take care of that. Okay, So way back in the land of New Spain in the 1500s, when the Spaniards came down to Mexico and ruined everything, just kidding, there was a woman named Malinche, or Malinche. Honestly, there's like some debate around her name. It's not very clear to me. It's been a while since I read about it. She was an indigenous woman, and she was sold by her mother to the Spanish to be a interpreter because she spoke Maya. Why is this important? Because of malinchismo. So malinchismo, today, it is a term to describe the tendency to prefer foreign things instead of things from one's own country. When you hear this term, you're like, what is that? You get to learn a little bit more about the history. So that's part of Mexico's history, but it also relates to, I guess, social dynamics and social concepts today. And of course, that's not just specific to Mexico. Malinchismo is kind of just like a Latin American concept that is spread to other places. So the history, it's not just in the past, it's also interwoven and it's integral to the modern language and the modern society as well. And next, talking about etymologies. So something that I always kind of was a little bit familiar with, but really didn't know about until I really got into Mexican Spanish, was just how common it is for indigenous words to be in the language. So Mexican Spanish has a lot of words that come from Nahuatl, which is the biggest indigenous language in Mexico, if I'm not mistaken. It's still spoken today, most widely spoken. And it's really interesting because now that I am exposed to it so much, I actually have like a drive to learn a little bit of Nahuatl. I want to do it next year. And because I speak Spanish, there will be more resources available because I don't think there's as many resources available in English. So think about that. It's just really beautiful because when you are constantly using these words, you start to kind of grow attached to them and you want to learn more about it. So that's what I plan to do next year. And it's something that I didn't plan, so it really kind of, dialectifying my Spanish really led me to other linguistic endeavors that I'm really excited for. And the last reason I want to use to convince you is that it's very fulfilling. It gives you a sense of community. So like I said, overall, it's helped me to give like an identity to my Spanish. So I feel much more like me when I'm speaking Spanish now. And on top of that, like I said, on social media, when people see you learning their dialect, they want to help you. So that's a really easy way to make friends and like acquaintances. I've met so many cool different people on social media and in real life just because, they know that I'm like really into Mexican Spanish. And it's not just native speakers though, too, because there's other people who are focusing on a specific dialect as well. So you guys can mingle. Anyways, I'm getting to that point where I'm rambling, but I hope that I've given you enough reasons to consider it. It really, I don't know, it's something that I'm very grateful for. It's a decision that I don't think anybody would regret, so. And why learn the colonizer version of the language in the first place? Like, come on. I'm joking. But also, I hope that you really consider it if you have been thinking about it at all, or even if you haven't thought about it. I hope that I've planted the idea in your mind and it grows into a beautiful plant or something. Anyways, hope that everybody has been doing well. I'm very happy to be back on YouTube. Thank you so much for supporting me in my wavering times, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Have a good one.